did about as well as you would expect in her very first solo network TV interview that came more than 2 months after she became a presidential candidate and less than 2 months before the election. We will break it all down for you here on the Dan O'Donnell Show. If you can't tell, I am nursing a bit of a head cold, so we'll muddle through the Thursday edition together. If you'd like to lighten the load for me and join the Dan O'Donnell Show, I'm not going to say I'm begging for callers, but when I sound like this and feel like this, it certainly wouldn't hurt. The adventknows.com talk and text line is always open. 414-799-1130, 1-800-838-9476. You can always email the program, dod@iheartmedia.com. I promise you I do read every single email, even if I don't have time to get back to every single one, because there is a flood every day. You can also follow me on social media at Dan O'Donnell Show on X, where, as always, we are streaming live via our DanoCam. We do ask that you repost the live stream, help spread Dan Nation. Join the conversation during that live stream, facebook.com/Dan O'Donnell Show, as well as on YouTube. Just search for Dan O'Donnell or Dan O'Donnell Show. If there was one way to sum up Kamala's interview on MSNBC last night, it would be in this quote from the interviewer, Stephanie Ruhle.
One could watch that and say, well, she didn't give a clear, direct answer. That's okay, because we are not talking about clear or direct issues.
There is so much embedded in that, I could take an entire show just explaining it. This is the woman who last week, and we've got an audio soundbite from her appearance on the Bill Maher Show, said, look, it's okay that Kamala hasn't given any answers at all. We don't need to hear her specific policy proposals. We don't need to hear her flesh them out in an adversarial setting. Remember, this is also the same woman who, in that exact same Bill Maher appearance, essentially endorsed Kamala Harris for president while calling President Trump a serious threat to our democracy. She said after interviewing Kamala last night, look, it's okay she didn't give a clear and direct answer. These aren't clear and direct issues. Yes, actually, they are, Stephanie. It's pretty clear to me that I can no longer afford gas and groceries and haven't been able to since pretty much the moment Kamala took power. The specific question, though, that she's talking about, Stephanie Ruhle was a question on how exactly Kamala would pay for all of these policy proposals, such as giving people rent assistance or paying them to have children, all of these things that are essentially dependent upon the Congress approving her plan for higher corporate tax rates. Ruhle actually did ask a pretty good question. What happens if the Senate, which is expected to flip to Republican hands regardless of what happens in the presidential race, just based on the map, it's far more likely than not that Republicans will have the Senate. What happens if the Senate says no? This is the answer that more people are talking about than any other, because Kamala absolutely bombed it. She sounded like she had absolutely no earthly idea what she was talking about, what Ruhle was asking her. In other words, it was a pretty typical Kamala response.
Expanding that child tax credit, or you mentioned housing before, giving that extra money for a first home. If you can't raise corporate taxes, or if GOP takes control of the Senate, where do you get the money to do that? Do you still go forward with those plans and borrow?
Well, but we're going to have to raise corporate taxes, and we're going to have to make sure that the biggest corporations and billionaires pay their fair share. That's just it. It's about paying their fair share. I am not mad at anyone for achieving success, but everyone should pay their fair share, and it is not right that the teachers and the firefighters that I meet every day across our country are paying a higher tax than the richest people in our country.
First of all, that's been debunked about 50 different ways in the past 8 or 9 years since this first became a Democrat talking point, that somehow Warren Buffett pays less in taxes than his secretary. I'm not even going to dignify that canard with a full debunking again, because we've done so over and over and over on the Dan O'Donnell Show. Basically, it comes down to this. Capital gains taxes are indeed less than income taxes, but you pay for the stocks or securities or bonds or whatever you purchase with money that has already been taxed at the ordinary income rate. It is then taxed again when you sell it and it appreciates in value, i.e., it is far greater in taxes that you're paying, okay? Difference between capital gains tax. Now remember, Kamala wants to do the incredibly unconstitutional thing of taxing unrealized capital gains. For example, you buy NVIDIA stock, it goes up exponentially. You're expected to pay the value of that stock, taxes on the value of the stock, even though you haven't actually made anything because you haven't actually sold the stock. So what Kamala is being asked is, okay, if we don't have this influx of revenue coming from an increased corporate sales tax or an increased corporate tax, how is it that you're going to pay for all of these policy proposals, such as just giving people free money? Well, we need to make sure people pay their fair share. You'll notice she said people need to pay their fair share. People need to pay their fair share. She was going back to her old saw, which is essentially nothing more than an empty talking point. Yes, of course, people need to pay their fair share. Unfortunately, what's never talked about is the top 1% and especially the top 10% of wage earners in this country, because of the unbalanced tax system, aren't paying their fair share. They're paying everyone's share. In fact, the top 50% of wage earners are quite literally paying pretty much every single cent of America's income taxes. Because we have a progressive tax system, people who make more money are paying proportionally more in taxes. This has been the case for decades, yet the left is still trying to pretend that the rich aren't paying their fair share, that because Jeff Bezos is making a fortune, that's the reason that you aren't making anything. They sort of have this idea that there is a finite amount of money, that there is a finite amount of resources, and that if somebody else is making more, they don't believe that wealth can be created. They don't understand that the more business expands, the more the economy expands, the more everybody is raised up in the form of more opportunities, more jobs, and higher wages. This is something that they've never understood and have derided as trickle-down economics since the days of Reagan. So this is just more of the same, but this is illustrative of just how unable Kamala is to articulate policy specifics without just going back over and over and over again to the ultimately empty talking points that have basically defined her entire career. Like, for example, how about when she said the word holistic or holistically 3 times in 15 seconds?
And assistance to state and local governments around transit dollars. And looking holistically at the connection between that and housing, and looking holistically at the incentives we in the federal government can create for local and state governments to actually engage in planning in a holistic manner that includes prioritizing affordable housing.
Do you follow that? It needs to be done holistically and also in a holistic manner so that we can take advantage of the holistic nature of Kamala's plan. This is basically what you're getting with Kamala Harris, and I think this is pretty much the reason that people, as recently as about May or June, even within the Democratic Party, were openly wondering whether Joe Biden needed to replace her on the ticket. Remember, after the disastrous debate performance on June 27th, it was sort of joked about that Kamala was Joe Biden's suicide vest. And I know it's kind of an off-key, it's a little hardcore of a metaphor, but the idea is Joe Biden is saying, if you take me down, okay, I'm going to blow this whole thing up because you're stuck with Kamala Harris. There's a reason she flamed out in the Democratic primary. It's because people didn't believe a thing she was saying, because she has this tendency and has had this tendency for her entire career to say a lot without saying anything at all. And in fact, This was perhaps even better illustrated than in the question that is going viral, her answer on how people just need to pay their fair share and everyone needs to pay their fair share. Stephanie Ruhle asked what I thought was a very good question, and this is going to sound bizarre here. I am going to give credit where credit is due. Even though Stephanie Ruhle was clearly in Kamala's, she was in the tank for Kamala, she wanted Kamala to do well, she did ask fair and reasonably tough questions. She wasn't being accusatory, but she was asking thought-provoking questions that challenged Kamala, and Kamala, of course, was not up to the challenge. One of her best, I thought, was that in your plans, Vice President Harris, a lot of people don't see themselves. In other words, since you've had 3.5 years as vice president to implement Kamalanomics, far too many people feel left behind because of the affordability crisis that you have brought upon this country. Now, I want you to listen very carefully. This runs about 1.5 minutes, and I may or may not interrupt, but I want you to just think about it listen very carefully, and think about what it is that Kamala is saying and what she's actually not saying at all.
Madam Vice President, you just laid out your economic vision for the future.
Yeah.
But still, there are lots of Americans who don't see themselves in your plans. For those who say these policies aren't for me, what do you say to them?
Well, if you are hardworking, if you have the dreams and the ambitions and the aspirations of what I believe you do, you're in my plan. You know, I
Okay. First of all, I gotta interrupt it there. If you have the dreams and the ambitions and the ambition to dream and the dream to have ambition, then my plan is for you. What did she took about 30 seconds there, maybe closer to 20 seconds. What did she actually say? Nothing.
have to tell you, I really love and am so energized by what I know to be the spirit and character of the American people. We have ambition, we have aspirations, we have dreams.
Okay, for the record, that is the second time in about 40 seconds that she said dreams and ambitions.
We can see what's possible. We have...
Okay, first of all, I gotta pause it there. You know darn well she really wanted to say, we can see what can be, unburdened by what has been.
Incredible work ethic, but not everyone has the access to the opportunities that allow them to achieve those things. But we don't lack for those things. But not everyone, gets handed stuff on a silver platter. And so my vision for the economy, I call it an opportunity economy, is about making sure that all Americans, wherever they start, wherever they are, have the ability to actually achieve those dreams and those ambitions, which include, for middle-class families, just being able to know that their hard work allows them to get ahead, right? I think we can't and we shouldn't aspire to have an economy that just allows people to get by. People want to do more than just get by. They want to get ahead.
I wish the soundbite didn't cut off right after that, because she literally did say after that, and I grew up in a middle-class family. You knew that one was coming. Unfortunately, the soundbite that I had cut off. Don't worry about it, producer Andrew. I do appreciate your willingness to find the full soundbite, but I figured I could just explain this to you. This is typical Democrat pap. It's this fundamental belief that you are too stupid to achieve. If you don't have everything handed to you on a silver platter, i.e., if you don't come from money, if you don't come from the upper class, and remember, Kamala most certainly did not come from the upper class. She totally did. She came from a middle class family. If you come from the middle class, if you come from the lower class, you are fundamentally unable to achieve, because all of these societal hurdles that are put in your way are simply too much for you to overcome, except if you vote for us. It is such a remarkably cynical worldview that presupposes that the American people or any people simply can't overcome. Am I going to sit here and lie to you and say that some people have to overcome, that everybody has to overcome the exact same amount of hurdles? No, of course not. Am I going to sit here and lie to you and say it's a lot easier to succeed if you have a whole lot of societal advantages? But those advantages oftentimes are thoroughly independent of money. The number one advantage that you can have is a stable, functional family unit that's free from alcoholism, drug abuse, physical, sexual, or mental abuse. If you have a stable family unit, and I'm not going to be one of these people who says, well, you need a father in the home. I can tell you it is certainly a massive advantage. I grew up in a broken home. My parents got divorced when I was in high school, I believe sophomore, junior year. I think right beginning of junior year, my parents split up. Guess what? Do you know where my father moved when he moved away from the family? Across the street, so he could still be a part of our lives. I'm not going to suggest that somehow not having an intact family, because I understand that 50% of marriages end in divorce, but the number one predictor of poverty in American children right now is not race, it is not income level, it is not socioeconomic status, it is whether or not that child is born to a single mother. That is it. That is the number one predictor of childhood poverty in the United States. So when we talk about these societal advantages, what we're really talking about is, do you come up in a stable home environment that allows you to overcome the sorts of challenges in, say, living in inner city Milwaukee, where violence, where dysfunctional classrooms is a way of life, something that maybe a well-off suburban kid wouldn't have to deal with. That well-off suburban kid, though, coming from a dysfunctional home environment, has to deal with something that someone from an inner city, someone who is impoverished, coming from a very functional, very loving family environment, doesn't. And I really, really, really wish that just once Democrats would talk about that, but they don't, because they always talk about this in terms of socioeconomic status. And they say, well, what we need to do, it's embedded in everything Kamala says. What we need to do is ensure that the rich are paying their fair share so we can give some of those resources to you. We have been doing this. We have been fighting a losing war on poverty for 60 years now. Has LBJ's Great Society lifted society up? And here's the thing that no Democrat wants to talk about. We are still by far the wealthiest nation on earth. We are still a nation where the poorest among us have cell phones. In Africa, in parts of Asia, the poorest among those civilizations don't have fresh drinking water. Okay? People are homeless in this country, to be sure, but they're homeless because of horrible drug addiction, because of untreated mental illness, and because they don't have that family structure that is willing to take care of them. All right, I'm going to step aside for a break. We're getting a lot deeper than perhaps I intended to. More Kamala and Stephanie Ruhle soundbites, more analysis of what it really means to be a success in America, coming up next on The Dan O'Donnell Show.
iHeartRadio brings you Global Citizen Festival 2024 from New York City at Central Park's Great Lawn. Live performances from Post Malone, Doja Cat, Jelly Roll, Benson Boone, and more. Join the movement to end extreme poverty now, one action at a time at globalcitizenfestival.com. Hear the entire festival live on the iHeartRadio app all day this Saturday, and the best of the best moments on the free iHeartRadio app's Hit Nation station, Saturday night at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific.
Things are so much different now than what I ever expected them to be when we first started Penny Mustard.
Ben and Arvid Huth, brothers and owners of Penny Mustard Furnishings.
I mean, when we first started Penny Mustard, we had a 3,000 square foot store. At the time, I would have been really, really happy and excited if we just ended up having one small furniture store that was successful. By 99, we had 3 stores in Milwaukee and 2 in Chicago.
Yeah. You know, we've always tried to make the right decisions. And I think that's what's gotten us to this point. And the people we hire are like us, and they try to make the right decisions. When you do that, you end up satisfying customers, and customers keep coming back.
I'm floored that we've been blessed with God's blessings and our employees and everybody that's helped grow this business to what we are, with a bunch of stores, and I way beyond my wildest dreams.
See more at pennymustard.com.
Make American Family Field your space to grow relationships with clients, employees, and prospects with Brewers season memberships for the 2025 season. Your corporate season membership with the Brewers grants exclusive discounts on premium meeting spaces, invitations to networking events, and one-of-a-kind opportunities to grow your business at the ballpark. Learn more about Brewers season memberships for businesses at brewers.com/ticket plans or call 414-902-HITS.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
I opened a gold IRA with Noble Gold Investments. There's no better vote for your financial safety than precious metals. So Noble Gold Investments is giving away up to 10 1-ounce silver Trump coins or a 10-ounce silver American flag bar with a qualifying account this month. Just use promo code TRUMP. That's NobleGoldInvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
The Dan O'Donnell Show. I am a slightly worse for wear Dan O'Donnell. Does it sound like I'm really stuffed up? Just a tiny bit, says producer Andrew. I honestly feel fine, although I made the mistake of taking a couple of NyQuil before bed last night, and I slept insanely soundly, but just could not get up. You know the feeling, right? Yeah. This is the thing. I love Dayquil. Dayquil is my go-to whenever I have a cold, and I do thank you, ladies and gentlemen, whenever I say I'm under the weather. And please, this isn't a pity party for Dan O'Donnell. I would come in here primarily because when I wake up sick, it's far too late to call in for a backup, especially producer Dave is out. He's usually the one who fills in for me. So no matter what, I'm going to come to work. I'm just going to wipe down the microphone and equipment a little bit more strenuously than other days because I don't want anybody else getting sick. But I really do appreciate everybody with their home remedies, vitamin C. I know the neti pot. My wife is a big believer in the neti pot. I don't like it. I don't like the stuff going down my sinuses. It's just a personal thing. I swear by Dayquil. To me, Dayquil is the one that makes me feel the best. NyQuil, well, it does, it clears out your stuffy nose, and that's pretty much the symptom. Just a headache, just stuffed up, just not feeling particularly top notch here. But when you wake up, I find that, and I've been having a real issue with insomnia lately. For whatever reason, I wake up at 2:45 at night, and I'm up until about 3:30 to 3:45. Just regardless, it's sort of like in the Middle Ages. It's kind of weird. I swear this is true. In the Middle Ages, people actually had something called second sleep. In case you wondered how people slept from the time it got dark at night, which would be 4, 5 p.m. sometimes in the dead of winter, and then it wouldn't get light until 5, 6, 7 in the morning. Did they really sleep that long? They actually didn't. They would go to bed shortly after nightfall, and then they would sleep about 4 or 5 hours. Then they would wake up, they'd tend to the fire, They would have like a quiet time, drink some tea, talk, read, and then they would go back to bed and sleep until morning. It was called second sleep. And there was a book that was written maybe 15, 20 years ago that kind of highlighted this phenomenon. People didn't know that this was how people in the Middle Ages lived. This is kind of how Dan O'Donnell lives. Now, I have sleep and then I have second sleep at about 3 o'clock until 5:45, 6 a.m., whenever I'm able to roll myself out of bed, staggering to the bathroom, right? NyQuil this morning. I was up at like 6:40. My son's home from school. My oldest is home from school because he was up all night. My daughter has got this head cold as well. And so my younger son needed a ride to school. I'm like, honey, I can't do it. I can't get out of bed. I could barely open my eyes. It's the darndest thing. I could not get up. So NyQuil, it did. What do they call it? The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, so you can get out of bed or something like that. I'm like, well, getting out of bed might be a little difficult. All right, Stephanie Ruhle last week on the Bill Maher show said it's totally fine. Ruhle, of course, was the one who finally did get the first solo sit-down interview with Kamala Harris. She did do a local TV interview in Philadelphia. First network interview goes to Stephanie Ruhle, perhaps because she said this on the Bill Maher show last week.
It's not too much to ask Kamala, say, are you for a Palestinian state if Hamas is going to run that state?
Okay.
Yes or no?
And let's say you don't like her answer. Are you going to vote for Donald Trump?
No, I'm not. I just said I'm not going to vote for her.
Kamala Harris is not running for perfect. She's running against Trump. We have two choices. And so there are some things you might not know her answer to. And in 2024, unlike 2016 for a lot of the American people, we know exactly what Trump will do, who he is, and the kind of threat he is to democracy.
I don't know.
Come on. It's okay that Kamala isn't telling us what she will do. All she has to do is shut up and not be Donald Trump. That's the woman who got the first solo interview with Kamala Harris. Now, fortunately, this guy, and I apologize, I didn't have time to check who this guest was, but he's actually making some sense, says that's not really enough.
It's unclear to me how there could be
Stephanie, the problem that a lot of people have with Kamala is we don't know her answer to anything, okay?
But you know his answer to everything.
And that's why I would never vote for him, and people shouldn't vote for him. But people also are expected to have some idea of what the program is of the person you're supposed to vote for. You're just not supposed to say, well, you have to vote for Y because X is this, that, and the other. Let's find out a little bit more. And I don't think it's a lot to ask her to sit down for a real interview as opposed to a puff piece in which she describes like her feelings of growing up in Oakland with nice lawns.
Then I would just say to that, when you move to Nirvana, give me your real estate broker's number and I'll be your next door neighbor. We don't live there.
We don't live in a perfect utopia where a presidential candidate can answer questions about their plans. That's utopia to Stephanie Ruhle. That's Nirvana. Okay.
Donald Trump's back, and he's out for control.
I would have every right to go after them.
Complete control.
I will wield that power very aggressively.
And he has a plan to get it.
Detailed plans for exactly what our movement will do.
It's called Project 2025, a 922-page blueprint to make Donald Trump the most powerful president ever. Overhauling the Department of Justice, giving Trump the unchecked power to seek vengeance, eliminating the Department of Education, and defunding K-12 schools, requiring the government to monitor women's pregnancies, and Trump has also proposed severe cuts to Medicare and Social Security. Those are Donald Trump's plans.
Well, revenge does take time, I will say that. And sometimes revenge can be justified.
He'll take control, we'll pay the price.
I'm Kamala Harris, candidate for president, and I approve this message. Paid for by Harris for President.
At Great Midwest Bank, we've been serving Southeast Wisconsin homeowners for nearly 90 years. Wait, 2024 minus 1935, 89 years. Wow. In our 89 years as a community bank, we've learned a lot about the values of the people who live and work here and appreciate the loyal customers that have made Great Midwest Bank who we are today. Find a location at greatmidwestbank.com. Great Midwest Bank, your simply local equal housing lender and member FDIC.
Hot summer night. Lightning strike. Down goes the tree, right through their bedroom wall, nearly ruining a walnut headboard, which is pretty hard wood. Fortunately, the customers were okay. But the headboard? That wasn't. Until they called us. We made that Victorian headboard better than new. So if you're looking for the finest in furniture finishing, repair, and heirloom restoration, by golly, it's Mullally. Mullally Furniture Finishing and Repair. We're no job's too small. Serving everywhere. Quality counts. Well, if you haven't heard me bragging by now, we're darn good. Actually, my dad has no qualms about saying we're the best. And if you're skeptical, I understand. But all you have to do is go to MullallyFinishing.com to learn why we're great at what we do and see lots of before and after photos that show off our impressive work. So if you're looking for a name you can trust, by golly, it's Mullally. Mullally Furniture Finishing and Repair. Serving everywhere. Quality counts. MULLALY Finishing.com.
I'm Brett Ochtenhagen, owner of Brett Ochtenhagen Seasonal Services and host of the Design Your Yard Show. Do you live in a home with distinctive architectural charm? Maybe it's a classic Dutch colonial with a timeless gambrel roof, or a prairie-style home with sleek horizontal lines. We admire unique architecture and the beauty of its influence throughout our homes. But does your landscape reflect that same character? At Seasonal Services, we believe the beauty of your home's architecture shouldn't stop at the walls. It should flow outdoors into the landscape. Your outdoor space should embrace the architectural features you love. Since 1994, the architects at Seasonal Services have been blending personal style with architectural harmony. We design and craft outdoor environments that complement the beauty and the character of your home. If you're planning a landscaping project and want to honor your home's architectural charm, call Brett Ochtenhagen Seasonal Services at 262-392-3444 or visit us online at seasonalservices.com.
When it comes to your physical health, getting to the bottom of a problem cannot happen fast enough. This is where Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin's Ortho ASAP clinics come to the rescue. If you're experiencing any sort of bone-on-bone, joint, or muscle problem, walk right in and be seen by an orthopedic specialist trained specifically to treat these conditions. Their website is orthowisconsin.com. The Ortho ASAP clinics are located at both the Pewaukee and Brookfield Square locations and are a lower cost, higher quality alternative to the traditional emergency room or urgent care. You'll be sure to be seen by an experienced orthopedic specialist who's surrounded by a staff that is trained to provide you with the best possible care. Also, their Ortho ASAP clinics are housed where they have on-site x-ray, physical therapy, and MRI capabilities to help with your care all right there. You can learn more at orthowisconsin.com. orthowisconsin.com. Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. There is a difference.
Hey, football fans, the season is finally here. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, former NFL player and now best-selling author and star in a new documentary film called The Retirement Deception. I want you to watch this film at no cost because I believe America needs to know the truth about retirement. Retirement doesn't have to be complicated. In football, the basics, blocking and tackling, are what wins games. In retirement, protection and income are the key to your success. You don't retire on your nest egg, you retire on the income it can produce. This film shows you exactly how to create more income and protect yourself from the chaos and unnecessary fees of Wall Street. Call today to get your free streaming code to watch The Retirement Deception. You can also schedule a 10-minute call with one of our retirement experts. I think you'd agree 30 years of saving for retirement is probably worth a 10-minute call to make sure you're doing all you can to protect it. Call 833-359-6819. That's 833-359-6819. 833-359-6819. Mitch Lyons Wealth, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
The free iHeartRadio app has over 100 commercial-free stations waiting for you to explore right now, like the Beatles Now and Then, celebrating all things Beatles.
Come together, you say goodbye, and I say hello.
Legendary clips, deep cuts, live performances, and all their solo hits. Just open the free iHeartRadio app and search the Beatles Now and Then and listen now. iHeartRadio, free never sounded so good.
iHeartRadio.
conservatism, contemporary style. This is the 1812, obviously a techno version of the 1812 Overture, done by the group Bond, who also does the Dan O'Donnell Show theme song, Explosive. Welcome back. I am Dan O'Donnell. Coming up in the 10 o'clock hour, the great ballot drop box theft of 2024. The Wausau mayor perhaps getting even more coverage than the New York mayor who was indicted last night. We will be talking about Eric Adams and what he was allegedly doing that sounds remarkably familiar to what a certain president and his son have been doing. By the way, President Biden was on The View yesterday. First time a sitting president ever made an appearance on The View. And Kamala Harris, over the last month and a half, has really evolved her campaign to try to distance herself as much as humanly possible from the Biden administration. I noticed right away when she started adopting the "we need a new generation of leaders, I represent a new generation of leadership." What that is a recognition that this is a change election, that people don't want more of the same. So the more that she is tied to Joe Biden in the politics of the last 3.5 years, excuse me, the policies that have brought ruin to this country in the form of an affordability crisis that is costing the average American family now more than $17,000 per year. She needs to do her best to say, look, Trump is essentially the incumbent. This is why all of her language is Trump will represent more of the same. You hear in her radio ads that air during this very show, I still chuckle about that. Yes, Kamala, please give me your money to try to convince voters who will never, ever, ever vote for you. You hear in the rhetoric that she's using in her ads, she's saying Trump will impose a $3,900 tax. This Trump tax will devastate America. You're already imposing a $17,000. What she's talking about are the tariffs that Trump is talking about. She, of course, sort of is trapped here. Because if tariffs are so terrible, if Donald Trump would impose a $3,900 tax in the form of tariffs, why did the Biden administration allow the Trump tariffs to stand? They didn't rescind any of them because they understand that this is working. The only problem is they shut down the supply chain or kept it shut down at the exact moment that demand was picking up while they were simultaneously giving people money to stay home in the form of $1,400 stimulus checks, in the form of enhanced unemployment. They were incentivizing people who make up essential parts of the supply chain. They were incentivizing them to stay home on the couch and just get money. Well, what happens when people are collecting money? They want to spend it, and yet there aren't enough goods because people aren't back to work to spend that money on. That naturally is a recipe for inflation. In fact, it was a dire warning coming from even liberal economists that what the Biden-Harris administration was doing at the outset of its term was going to be highly inflationary. They poo-pooed it. They said, well, we have Janet Yellen as our Treasury Secretary. She knows a little something about keeping inflation under control. Well, turns out she didn't. So Biden goes on The View yesterday, and while Kamala is trying her best to distance herself as much as humanly possible from Biden and all of his policies, which are her policies as well, Biden just tears it all down with one 11-second soundbite. Yeah, I delegated everything to Kamala.
And as vice president, there wasn't a single thing that I did that she couldn't do. Mm-hmm. And so I was able to delegate her responsibility on everything from foreign policy to domestic policy.
Yeah, you know that Afghanistan withdrawal that everybody loved? That was her. She's in fact bragged about being the last person in the room with President Biden when the decision was made to pretty much strand everyone in Afghanistan and engage in the most humiliating capitulation since the fall of Saigon. Hey, do you remember October 7th and the fecklessness that gave us the audacity to give the Iranian mullahs $1 billion in unfrozen assets when we knew that they fund terror groups like Hamas and Hezbollah all across the region? Everybody liked that, right? Well, that was Kamala too. Domestic policy. Everybody loves the increased taxes. Everybody loves the fact that they're now paying hundreds of dollars more per week for groceries and other essentials, right? That was Kamala. I'm still open to the possibility that Biden actually hates Kamala Harris. I know Jill Biden hates Kamala Harris, but I'm open to the possibility that he is actually trying to sabotage her in his unique doofus-like way. Biden also had a moment on The View, which isn't quite getting as much attention as when he said, oh yeah, I delegated everything to Kamala. Whoopi Goldberg, one of the co-hosts of The View, certified Trump derangement syndrome sufferer, compared Trump to a bug and said he's just like this bug flying around. Biden made a move with his hand where he swatted the desk as though he wanted to crush the bug. On the same day, you actually had Joe Biden's Commerce Secretary say something even more direct and even more troubling. We will get into that in our Unhinged Liberal of the Day segment when the Dan O'Donnell Show returns.
If you're someone who hears love and thinks about a quarterback instead of romance, you're primed to listen to Green Bay Grapevine on WISN. Before and after every game, hard-boiled reporter Mark Daniels tells Jay Weber and his morning show audience about all of the trends and subtleties swirling around the green and gold.
Green Bay Grapevine is presented by Bob's Glass in Waukesha, featuring installation of glorious glass shower doors. If it's anything glass, think Bob's Glass. Bobs-glass.com.
Hey, Dan O'Donnell for my friends at Mander Collision and Glass, now with 7 locations to serve you wherever you are in Southeast Wisconsin. I've been a loyal Mander customer for nearly 8 years now because of their skill and price, sure, but also because their customer service is the sort you can only get at a third-generation family business. But don't just take my word for it. Here's Colleen, who writes, I just recently had my car repaired at Mander, and they were amazing in every way. Special shout out to Noelle at the front desk for always being available and providing updates. Very much appreciated. So too is your testimonial, Colleen, because I have heard dozens and dozens just like it. People talk about the great experience they have at Mander because it really is the best decision you can make after a collision. With 7 locations to serve you, you can start your repair easily at mandercollision.com. That's mandercollision.com.
Lock in for October. Brewers postseason tickets are on sale now. Clear your schedule, claim your spot, and be here for a Brewers postseason run you don't want to miss at brewers.com/postseason.
At Uline, they know going the extra mile takes hard work. For companies pushing to go further, Uline will go the distance with you. 24/7, they answer the phone to get you the shipping and industrial supplies you need. Business can move fast. Unexpected large orders, adverse weather, new safety guidelines, and changing economic trends. Uline works hard keeping 41,000 items ready to ship, minimizing detours on your way to the extra mile. Visit uline.com.
Welcome back to Ask Hasselus. I'm Weston. What's your question?
How can I find true happiness?
That's a deep, philosophical question that has plagued man for centuries.
Do you know the answer?
Of course. Happiness is the byproduct of a great night's sleep and instant savings.
That's it?
Through Monday at Hasselus, get instant savings of $248 off a new Queen Beauty Rest, Sealy Posturepedic, or Serta Perfect Sleeper. Save even more on a king.
That's the secret?
Get a Beauty Sleep by Beauty Rest Elm Cove B Queen. Others sell it for $12.99, but Hasselus has it for $8.42, and with instant savings, it's only $5.94. Check out instant savings on Sealy Posturepedic and Serta Perfect Sleeper too.
Ooh, I'm feeling content.
Plus free next day delivery,
cheerful,
free haul away of your old mattress,
jovial,
and employee free showrooms.
I've achieved maximum merriment.
Instant savings through Monday at Hasselus Mattress. Open 9 to 9. Find a hassle-free self-service showroom near you at hasselus.com. Hasselus, employee free since 2014.
Granite Plus is here to save your renovation from turning into a circus. Meet Bob. Bob hired some experts who turned his kitchen into a stupendous mess.
Hey, what the?
He should have called Granite Plus for countertops, cabinets, and flooring. With stable prices and 0% financing, you keep your cash flow fribble-tastic.
Done and done.
On time and on budget for flips, rentals, or dream homes. Granite Plus, turning your property into a splendiferous snazzle-frump.
Wow, this is perfect.
Skip the mess. Visit Granite Plus in New Berlin today and leave the juggle fluff to the clowns.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free info kit. Call 800-522-5700. 800-522-5700.
What if you want a side of Weber with your Sunday brunch? Or you need a dose of O'Donnell during your kids' Saturday track meet? Or even have a belling craving at 3 in the morning? There's one prescription for all of it. The covey of WISN podcasts perched at newstalk1130.com. Full shows from your favorite hosts completely on demand. Anytime, anywhere. That means the audio boss is your favorite person. You. Feast on the podcasts at newstalk1130.com.
Milwaukee's most powerful radio show, The Mark Belling Late Afternoon Show. There's only one Mark Belling on News Talk 1130 WISN.
Might have just delivered former President Trump all the ammunition he needs for every single radio and TV ad for the final 39 days of this campaign. Are you ready for it? It wasn't in the Stephanie Ruhle interview. It was during a speech to what I believe was the Economic Forum earlier in the day yesterday. Take a listen.
We just need to move past the failed policies that we have proven don't work.
Wait a second. She didn't really just say what I think she did she?
We just need to move past the failed policies that we have proven don't work.
Oh, you proved they don't work, all right, Kamala. You proved that beyond any reasonable doubt.
Does that make me crazy?
Trump is Hitler.
We are in pre-Nazi Germany.
Does that make me crazy?
All white people are racist.
Does that make me crazy?
Trump is dangerous because he's evil. America is over.
Today's unhinged liberal of the day is Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo, who during an interview yesterday said that Donald Trump needed to, quote, be extinguished.
It's just another lie. Like, how did we get here? Let's extinguish him for good. We have an answer. We have a remarkably talented candidate who is sincere, who's pragmatic, who's open. Let's just get it done.
Now, I could be charitable and say that the context of that quote would suggest she's talking about voting for Kamala Harris and extinguishing Trump's political career for good. Or I could presume, as Democrats always do when a Republican says something like that, that she's talking about extinguishing his life. And given the fact that we just learned a couple of days ago that the Iranian government wants to try to assassinate Trump, given the fact that there's a hearing going on right now on Capitol Hill into the Secret Service and local law enforcement failures that led to Trump getting within 4 millimeters of being assassinated in July, and given the fact that the United States government just charged another guy with attempting to assassinate Trump just a couple of weeks ago, it sure sounds like Gina Raimondo is fully aware of the double meaning of the word extinguished. And that's why she is your unhinged liberal of the day. Coming up next hour, we will get into a tale of two mayors. Wausau Mayor Doug Diddy, who taped himself taking the drop box from the city of Wausau to his office. A horrible attempt at disenfranchising voters, or an admittedly obvious political stunt aimed at showing ballot drop boxes are not at all secure. And one of the biggest stories in the country right now, for the first time in the history of New York City, a sitting mayor has been indicted. We now know the charges against Eric Adams, and they are remarkably similar to something that the media has been telling us for a long time was not happening at the federal level, involving a certain vice president and his son, who somehow got himself elected president in 2020. So we will get into that. But putting a bow on the Kamala interview with Stephanie Ruhle, all in all, this was pretty much par for the course for Kamala. She did admit that she wants a pathway to citizenship for all current illegals. She wants to crack down on border security. This after about a minute and a half of blather about the border security bill that would have passed. It would have solved illegal immigration if Donald Trump didn't just come in and tell Republicans to not vote for the bill. Excuse me, folks. My cold is absolutely killing me right now, or at least killing my ability to talk. So what she said was pretty much par for the course. But yet again, I think the American people got a pretty good look at Kamala's just inability to speak extemporaneously and her lack of depth on the biggest issues of our day. She reverts to talking points instantly. When she's asked about the 10 to 11.5 million illegal immigrants that her administration brought into this country, all the while she was serving as border czar, she immediately reverts back to, well, we had a bill that Donald Trump, he said Republicans shouldn't pass that bill because he wanted to. That was 2.5 years after the massive invasion started. Where were you for the previous 48 months? Well, 24, 36 months. It's rather obvious that she doesn't have a good answer. And in case people are wondering why she doesn't directly answer questions, it's because the answer would implicate her and President Biden as being a failed vice president and president, respectively. The reason she didn't directly answer the "are you better off than you were 4 years ago" question when it was posed to her in the debate, why she instead now infamously said, well, first of all, I was raised in a middle-class family, and she went into this 2-minute word salad about an opportunity economy and how we need to raise everybody up, is because she simply can't answer that question, because it's painfully obvious, because everyone who has been paying $17,000 on average more for the same goods and services that they were able to get under the Trump administration knows that they're not better off than they were 4 years ago. They understand that dumping 20,000 Haitians in a community of 60,000 is not good government. That allowing criminal illegal aliens into this country and refusing to deport them even when they commit heinous crimes is not good government. On the biggest issues that Americans care about, Kamala doesn't have any answers, because Kamala is the reason that we're in this mess. Her and Joe Biden did more to empty America's bank accounts and did more to put them in jeopardy because of soft on crime policies, which, by the way, have not led to a reduction in crime. Compare 2022, which is the most recent year criminal statistics are available, to 2019. All right? That's the baseline year. Yes, 2022 is down from 2021, which is down from 2020. They're all up. Every single crime category is up from 2019. We're going to step aside for a break for the news. When we come back, the latest on the New York City mayor and the Wausau mayor here on the Dan O'Donnell Show.
News that's factual, fair, and balanced. This is continuing coverage on News Talk 1130 WISN, Milwaukee.
Good morning, I'm Ted Allen. Prison time for Milwaukee Public Schools' former school board president for bribery. A federal judge yesterday sentenced Michael Bonds to 2 years behind bars. Bonds resigned from MPS's board in 2018. He pleaded guilty in the case in 2019, but he was just sentenced this week. Prosecutors say Bonds took kickbacks to help the charter school company Universal Education open and run 3 schools in Milwaukee. 2 Universal Education company leaders were also convicted in the case. Federal prosecutors say they lied to the IRS about the $18,000 they used to bribe Bonds. There are a lot of requests for more on Governor Tony Evers' new state budget. The Institute for Reforming Government looked at Evers' proposed 2-year spending plan, and they found billions of dollars in new requests. The largest, $4 billion, comes from the state's Department of Health Services. That money is tied to a proposed Medicaid expansion that the governor's office says would bring in billions more from Washington, D.C. The University of Wisconsin is asking for nearly $1 billion more from the state, and IRG says the Department of Corrections wants $500 million more. Hurricane Helene is forecast to make landfall in Florida's Big Bend region later on today as a Category 4 storm. Helene is expected to bring life-threatening storm surge, damaging winds, and flooding to much of the Sunshine State and the southeastern U.S. Mandatory evacuations are in place in over 20 Florida counties. Checking the holiday automotive of Fond du Lac Sports scoreboard, the Brewers meet up with the Pirates later on today in Pittsburgh. From the Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin News Center, I'm Ted Allen on Wisconsin's most listened to radio station, News Talk 1130 WISN.
This is Michael Lynch from Lynch Truck Center. For the first time ever, Lynch Truck Center is having a massive construction sale on over 400 in-stock trucks, which include Chevrolet, GMC, Hino, and Isuzu. You will not want to miss it. We're adding parking, 7 more truck bays, and expanded parts storage, so we can better serve you, our customer. Did you know our experienced sales staff sold more Chevrolet medium-duty trucks and cab-overs than all the other dealers in the state combined? With their knowledge on upfits, combined with our service department, we deliver turnkey vehicles for your business, including the right body for your application, bin packages, and even lettered when it's delivered right to your door. As a business owner, has managing your fleet grown into a full-time job? Our fleet department can help. We provide a free fleet analysis which guides you when to trade, help track expenses for maintenance, fuel, and even vehicle tracking. You'll be shocked on the money and time you can save, not to mention having new vehicles under warranty. Visit lynchtruckcenter.com and give us a shot. We won't disappoint you.
Here's the latest forecast from the Fox 6 weather experts.
Sunny and seasonally warm today. Should see a high near 76. Very light east breeze at around 3 to 7 miles per hour. Just a few clouds tonight, 58. Should get a little cloudier throughout the day Friday, but stay dry with a high near 74. I'm Fox 6 Chief Meteorologist Rob Haswell.
This report is sponsored by Terminix Batzner. Exciting updates! Terminix and Batzner are now Terminix Batzner. They bring you enhanced service and 173 years of combined experience. For top-notch pest control, visit Terminix-Batzner.com.
Affordable Dentures and Implants practices in the Milwaukee area make new smiles affordable every day, so you don't need to wait another day to get your smile back. Visit us in Milwaukee, Kenosha, or Menominee Falls. Call 1-800-DENTURE. Affordable Dentures and Implants.
Go ahead and smile. A place where freedom of speech and freedom of thought live on. Stay informed all day, every day on News Talk 1130 WISN.
While most other furniture finishers restore wood furniture using high-pressure water to remove old lacquer and varnish, we only use a chemical solvent. Because when you use water, it will eventually raise the grain, loosen glue joints, and lift veneer. So if you have something really special that you'd like to restore, call us. For the finest in furniture finishing and heirloom restoration, by golly, it's Mullally. Mullally Furniture Finishing and Repair. Serving everywhere. Quality counts. MULLALY finishing.com. If you want your restored antique piece to remain primitive, no problem. Maybe you want to restore it to as good as new condition. We can do that. The way we work is based solely on what your needs are. And that seems to make the process of restoring your unique piece almost always a positive one. So if you're looking for the finest in furniture finishing and heirloom restoration, by golly, it's Mullally. Mullally Furniture Finishing and Repair. We're no job's too small. Serving everywhere. Quality counts. MULLALY finishing.com.
Want to make your yard the envy of the neighborhood? Tune in to Brett Octenhagen's Seasonal Services Designer Yard Show to learn landscaping secrets. Visit seasonalservices.com and listen on News Talk 1130 WISN, Saturdays at 1 p.m.
If you're someone who's experiencing shoulder, spine, hip, knee, or musculoskeletal pain and a total joint replacement might be in your future, think Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. Their physicians specialize in same-day total joint replacements at their own ambulatory surgery center. See orthowisconsin.com.
Passionate about what's right. This is News Talk 1130 WISN.
Metro Milwaukee Homebuyer can give you a cash offer for your home in just 5 minutes, no matter its condition, because selling your home should not be complicated. Visit MetroMilwaukeeHomebuyer.com, pick your closing date, and the rest is simple. That's MetroMilwaukeeHomebuyer.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free info kit. Call 800-522-5700. 800-522-5700.
Be sure to listen to the NX Wealth Management Investment Show Saturday mornings at 11 and Sunday afternoons at 1 on News Talk 1130 WISN. NX provides its expertise to arm listeners with the knowledge and tools to invest wisely. NX Wealth Management. Know the difference.
No radio handy? No problem. Listen to WISN's live audio stream 24/7 via the web. Just click on the Listen Online tab at newstalk1130.com.
You could win $1,000 to ease your money woes. Woo-hoo! The winning starts next Monday.
Your first keyword at 9 a.m. Good luck from News Talk 1130 WISN.
City Mayor Eric Adams is expected to talk to the media after he was indicted on 5 charges of conspiracy to commit bribery. The charges are, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, federal program bribery, and receiving paying contributions, by foreign nationals, wire fraud, solicitation of a contribution by a foreign national, solicitation of a contribution by a foreign national, and bribery. Total of 5 charges allegedly related to donations he took from the Turkish government. We now see Mayor Adams joined by a number of people. He looks like he is about to walk to the podium, and we will bring you those remarks. This is the first time in the history of New York City, even with all the corruption there, Tammany Hall going back into the 1800s. This is the first time a sitting mayor has ever faced criminal charges, and we now have Mayor Adams is stepping to the podium. We'll wait for Fox News. Hold on, keep that down, producer Andrew. We will wait for Fox News to go to Eric Adams, and the mayor is now speaking, not quite yet. The crowd of supporters has gathered outside of Gracie Mansion, which is the official home of the New York mayor, and they are chanting in support of Mayor Adams, who was elected a couple of years ago, ironically on a pledge to restore law and order. He is a former police officer. He was also the borough president of Brooklyn. And he has been something of a controversial figure since he was inaugurated. We now go to Mayor Adams.
Supporters of all ethnic groups that I hear, particularly the men and women of the clergy that's here, that have joined me here today. And we are not surprised. We expected this. This is not surprising to us at all. The actions that have unfolded over the last 10 months, the leaks, the commentary, the demonizing, this did not surprise us that we reached this day. And I ask New Yorkers to wait to hear our defense before making any judgments. In about 30 minutes, you're going to hear a story of the case that is in front of us. This story will come from the federal prosecutors. And I ask to wait and hear our side to this narrative. From here, my attorneys will take care of the case so I can take care of the city. My day-to-day will not change. I will continue to do the job for 8.3 million New Yorkers that I was elected to do. Amen. And the 300,000 plus employees of our city government will continue to do their jobs. Because this is what we do as New Yorkers. It's an insult to the hardworking people of the city that anyone would say that they won't do their jobs while this case proceeds in the background. They are dedicated public servants, and I have been one of them for many years. And they're going to continue to do their job, moving the city forward every day. It's an unfortunate day, and it's a painful day. But inside of all of that, it's a day where we will finally reveal why for 10 months I have gone through this. And I look forward to defending myself and defending the people of this city as I've done throughout my entire professional career. I want to now turn it over to the person who started me on this journey.
All right, I'll tell you what, we're going to break away right there. That is Mayor Eric Adams. He is remaining defiant. He has already said in a statement last night that he expects to face criminal charges. He expects to be arrested. Interestingly enough, do you know where he was last night? At an event with one President Joe Biden. Before that, he issued a statement saying he expected to be arrested. He expected that federal charges were coming, that he is innocent of those charges, that he is going to fight them every step of the way. He has so far resisted calls to step down. No less a figure in New York politics than AOC herself, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, called in an X post yesterday on Mayor Adams to resign. The basic gist of the case is that the Adams administration has basically been beset by allegations of corruption for the past year and a half to 2 years. The police commissioner stepped aside on September 12th after federal agents raided his home as part of this investigation. Chief Counsel Lisa Zornberg, the fire commissioner, first ever woman commissioner, announced that she was calling it quits. This news was totally overshadowed because it happened on July 13th. The day Donald Trump was nearly assassinated. Corporation Counsel, another police commissioner before Edward Sabin left the Adams administration, the Department of Buildings commissioner, all leaving, all high-profile people, maybe not related to this corruption investigation, but this has been something that has been going on in New York City for quite some time. And the essential gist of the charges are, while Adams was running for mayor, the Turkish government offered him money in the form of campaign contributions, and federal prosecutors who have not yet announced their theory of the case, the narrative surrounding the case, because as you heard, they're going to do so in about a half hour. And Mayor Adams is saying, well, he's going to refute those charges as soon as they come out. It is believed that the Turkish government was giving Adams bribes. Now, you might remember a couple of years ago, in this mayoral election, Adams was considered a heavy favorite to replace the outgoing term-limited Bill de Blasio, but it took a long time to figure out who actually won the Democratic mayoral primary because they used something known as ranked choice voting in mayoral primaries in New York. Mayor Adams himself, when he was a candidate, was threatening to sue because he was rather obviously going to win the primary. He had by far the most support. However, it took weeks for anyone to know who was actually winning this race, and he was threatening legal action because subsequent counts showed him losing support and potentially losing to a candidate who didn't have nearly as many first-place votes. This, by the way, is interesting because we now have a second mayor who was swept into office by ranked choice voting under federal investigation for corruption. The other being the mayor of Oakland, California, who has also, now she has not yet been formally charged, but a number of members of her administration have been implicated in a corruption scandal that is inching closer to her. She too elected by ranked choice voting. We've discussed ranked choice voting on this show at length, some might say ad nauseum. It basically amounts to a system where instead of just voting for who you want to vote, let's say you're voting for president. You check the box next to Donald Trump, your vote is counted for Donald Trump. In ranked choice voting, you would have to rank every single presidential candidate. Trump, Kamala Harris, Chase Oliver, the libertarian in name only, radical leftist who's pretending to be a libertarian, Jill Stein, the Green Party candidate, independent Cornel West. You would have to rank them. After the first round of voting, the candidate who finishes last has their ballots thrown out and then re-examined. And everybody who voted for, let's say it's Cornel West, everybody who ranked Cornel West first, would then have their ballot re-examined. And whoever had Cornel West ranked second on those discarded ballots would then have Cornell ranked as their last choice. That would be thrown out. So whoever the second choice on those ballots would be, let's say second choice is Jill Stein. That would be their first choice. Those first place votes are added to Jill Stein. Then the candidate who finishes last in the next round of counting is eliminated. Everybody who had that candidate as a first place would then go down to their second place. Let's say the second place is Cornel West, who's already out. Third place is Kamala Harris. Kamala then gets those votes. Even though Kamala was the third choice from people who really wanted Cornel West and then Jill Stein, Kamala gets the boost from them. You see what a bad idea. A, it takes forever to learn the results. B, a candidate can win without ever getting a majority of first place votes. In fact, that's happened multiple times under ranked choice voting schemes. So Eric Adams wins in a ranked choice voting election. Now, a lot of people are saying, a lot of people on the right, well, Adams was only targeted by the federal government because he spoke out against the migrant flights. No, folks, this probe has been going on a lot longer than that. He first started speaking out, I would say, fall of 2023, maybe 2022. This has really been dogging him his entire campaign, his entire administration. So yes, it's no doubt that the federal government does target under the Biden administration politicians who it disagrees with, politicians who it wants to see ended. It is my very strong suspicion that this isn't that. Now, how could I possibly say that the federal government does this? Well, it just so happens a Democrat delegate to the United States Congress. This is not a congresswoman. She is a non-voting delegate from the U.S. Virgin Islands by the name of Stacey Plaskett. And Stacey Plaskett has an inordinate amount of media time. She was at a hearing yesterday on the weaponization of government and the idea that the Biden administration has been using government, the IRS, the DOJ, to target its political enemies, specifically Donald Trump. Well, she stood up and said, yeah, we want the federal government to target people like Donald Trump.
What is the point of this subcommittee? Because it's necessary for the public and the media to hear, to try, and provide cover for the eradication of the Department of Justice and the FBI. We are having these hearings so that you become immune. You become inured to the notion of the removal of the FBI and DOJ, so that those agencies are no longer there to serve as a check against white nationalism, great replacement theorists, Christian nationalists, white fragility, fascists, and the twice impeached convicted felon, former president and would-be dictator, Donald Trump.
Wait a second. The FBI exists to investigate white fragility? Basically, she just offered a list of things she doesn't like and said, yes, we need the FBI, we need the CIA, we need the DOJ to go after these. Why? Because I don't like them. From one mayor in New York City to another in Wausau, we will talk about the great Dropbox heist of 2024.
If you missed our 2024 iHeartRadio Music Festival, presented by Capital One.
Las Vegas, make some noise!
Watch the best moments exclusively on Hulu, beginning October 7th.
You guys are out for a party, I can tell.
See the biggest festival headliners from around the world assembled on one stage on one show.
This iHeart energy is so incredible.
See it all at our 2024 iHeartRadio Music Festival, presented by Capital One.
Streaming only on Hulu, beginning October 7th.
When it comes to remodeling, everyone has advice about who you should hire. But who can you trust? Your boss? Neighbors? Random online reviews? No. When it comes to remodeling, you can trust NARI. All NARI members are experienced, proven, qualified, and verified by local people who know the industry and have your back. Start your next home improvement project by finding a professional on NARIMilwaukee.org. NARI Milwaukee. Local, trusted, proven.
Granite Plus is here to save your renovation from turning into a circus. Meet Bob. Bob hired experts who turned his kitchen into a flendipulous mess.
Hey, what the?
Granite Plus handles countertops, cabinets, and flooring. Fribble-tastic prices and 0% financing.
Done and done.
Finish on time. Stay on budget. Flips, rentals, dream homes. Granite Plus transforms your property into a splendiferous snazzle-from.
Wow, this is perfect.
Visit Granite Plus in New Berlin today and leave the juggle fluff to the clowns.
Save big money on everything at Menards. Attract birds to your lawn with Menards' wide variety of bird seed. KT's Ultimate Songbird Blend includes fruits and nuts to add even more energy to a mix already rich with black oil sunflower seeds. It will make your backyard a favorite place for songbirds. Save big money at Menards and see our flyer on Menards.com for all our great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
Paid for by government. Did you hear? A secret hoard of 1932 $10 gold Indian coins have been found. These gorgeous 1932 gold coins are as bright and shiny as the day they were struck, and less than 200 of these gold coins are available. Coin experts are calling the secret U.S. gold coin discovery a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and you can own a piece of the hoard. When you call, you are guaranteed a 1932 dated gold coin featuring Lady Liberty with an Indian war headdress and a majestic eagle. With limited availability, you must call now. These 1932 dated gold coins are still in uncirculated condition with brilliant luster. That is 92 years of history you can hold in your hand. To learn more, call 1-800-356-6468. Call now and you'll receive a free bonus over a $55 value free with every order. Call 1-800-356-6468 now to secure your 1932 $10 gold Indian coins before they sell out. Don't wait. You must act fast. Call now.
Engagement rings, wedding bands, and big anniversary diamonds.
Welcome to Kessler's.
Doug Dinny, who is identified as a Republican in pretty much every headline or pretty much every first line of every article written about this case out of Wausau, is accused of election interference because he took his town's only ballot drop box out from in front of City Hall and put it outside his office. That's it. Now, some background. In 2022, the Wisconsin Supreme Court, then with a 4-3 conservative majority, ruled unambiguously that Wisconsin statutes do not allow for ballot drop boxes. The only way you can return a ballot is in the mail or in person. In 2023, after liberals gained control of the court and got a 4-3 majority, they worked to overturn that ruling. And they did, ruling in a 4-3 majority that ballot drop boxes are legal because even though Wisconsin statutes say the only two ways that you can return a ballot are by mail or in person, that leaving your ballot in an unattended drop box for days, weeks, months, we have no idea how long those ballots sit there because we have no idea how many times those ballot drop boxes are opened, that constitutes in person. No, really. They want you to believe that leaving it, to which I think I destroyed their entire argument. If I were to argue in person before the Wisconsin Supreme Court, would I be required to go to the court's chambers and present my case orally in front of them? I would, right? That's arguing in person before the Supreme Court. Would it count if I wrote down my argument, left it in a box somewhere else in Madison, and the Supreme Court's clerks had to go pick up my speech from the box and then read it? It's clearly not in person. Nevertheless, the court ruled ballot drop boxes are lawful. They said that municipalities have the decision about whether to use them or not and where to place them. Now, the mayor of Wausau, Doug Dinny, was just elected in April, and he was a huge opponent of drop boxes. He's a conservative Republican and something of a showman because he took a picture of himself carrying that drop box away. He's got a hard hat on and gloves. It's admittedly a very, very funny picture. But the stories make it seem as though he took the box from somewhere else in the city, where Wausau's poor, disenfranchised minorities would be better able to drop their ballots off, and took it into his office where only he would have access to it. Immediately, something should pop into your head. Should be a question. Like, how was one dude able to just kind of carry this drop box away, right? Wasn't the drop box bolted to the ground? If the mayor of Wausau was able to just kind of use a little dolly and take away the drop boxes, so too could anybody else. Look, it's homecoming for many communities across Wisconsin. What if the high school kids, as a homecoming prank, threw the ballot drop box into the lake? What if some unscrupulous actor, knowing that Wausau was going to vote more for Republicans than Democrats, decided to just take this away? Coming up in just a couple of minutes, ladies and gentlemen, the Department of Justice is going to outline the charges against Mayor Eric Adams. And I really do want to get to at least a little portion of this. So we'll try to break into regular programming just to listen, primarily for my own curiosity, because I've been sort of following this case since its genesis a long time ago and realized very quickly that all signs were pointing directly towards the mayor. But getting back to the great ballot box caper of 2024, Denny was able to get to this clearly unsecured ballot box first. Honest to goodness, nobody yet has given me a good answer. What would have happened if an unscrupulous actor would have gotten to the ballot drop box before the mayor? What would have happened to those ballots? All of the ballots inside would very clearly have been trashed, right? They could have been stolen. They could have been altered. What would have happened? What Denny was rather obviously trying to do was to illustrate this exact point. Look, if I can just carry this thing away, so too can anyone else. Clearly, this is not a secured ballot drop box like we're told. Did he do anything illegal? It is my understanding that he probably did not. He is a city employee. He is authorized to act on behalf of the city. The city is allowed to determine for itself under the Supreme Court's ruling where it places the ballot drop boxes. Now, where he might run into some trouble is state statute does say that only the municipal clerk can control elections in a given city. But as we learned from the Zuckerbucks fiasco 4 years ago in Green Bay, it didn't matter. The mayor was rather obviously running elections in spite of what the city clerk actually quit in disgust because the mayor, Eric Genrich, and his cronies from the National Vote at Home Institute were usurping her authority to run the election. If the mayor determines that the ballot drop box is not secured, it is my understanding in my reading of Wisconsin statutes that he would be authorized as an authorized city actor to take any steps necessary in order to secure that drop box. And frankly, I think he acted on behalf of election integrity. If we really care about keeping these ballots secured, we should be applauding what Denny did. They're treating this guy, watch, they're going to start calling him P. Denny with how criminal his actions were in stealing this ballot drop box. No, he moved it from outside City Hall to inside City Hall where it could be locked up so that under cover of darkness, somebody couldn't mess with the drop box. I see nothing wrong in what he did, and the fact that people are freaking out over it tells me that there are a whole lot of people in this state who have absolutely no concern about ballot integrity. Now, these are the same people who are also saying, oh, well, there's no problem with the city of Madison mailing out duplicate ballots. And I saw that Tom Tiffany got a community note on X for saying, look, there's no what's it called? A barcode. There's no barcode on the ballots themselves in the community. Well, very clearly the barcode is on the election, the ballot envelope. And once the envelope is okay, yeah. What happens since there's nothing that identifies that ballot as coming from that envelope? What happens if a duplicate ballot, which is independent of that envelope, because it's my understanding that there was only one ballot envelope and two ballots mailed out to 2,215 different addresses, which may or may not have actual people there. What happens if a ballot just sort of surfaces in one of Madison's drop boxes independent of an envelope? We've already determined in 2020 that an envelope that is filled out incorrectly will still have its ballot counted. Will the clerk's office count a ballot that doesn't have an envelope attached to it? Or what about this? What if one of those duplicate ballots shows up on election day and somebody just surreptitiously runs it through the machine? It's the exact same issue. We don't have clear chain of custody of the ballot. Same issue in Wausau. If we can't secure the ballot drop box, and I don't know if you've noticed, but mailboxes are all bolted to the ground. I dare say you would probably need an end loader to try to get a ballot drop, or to get a mailbox out. Once Fox News goes to the DOJ press conference, we are going to dip in. It sounds to me like they are about to start right now. So we're going to just kind of break format a little bit here on the Dan O'Donnell Show. And as I suspected, yes, this is undisclosed travel benefits for Eric Adams, paid for by a foreign government dating all the way back to 2016 when he was serving as Brooklyn's borough president. He was getting free business class tickets for 3 round trip from New York to France, Turkey, and China, heavily discounted stay in the Bentley suite of St. Regis, Istanbul, free business class tickets to China via the Turkish government. Folks, this has been going on for far longer than this guy has been speaking out about the Biden-Harris migrant flights. So it looks like, what's that, producer Andrew? All right, you know what? We're going to step aside for a break because we also have Eric Hovde, who is scheduled to join us in just a little bit. We'll talk to him about this sort of stuff, the state of his race. Jam-packed show here on the Dan O'Donnell Show. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Dan O'Donnell here, cordially inviting you on the adventure of a lifetime with Cruise and Tour, sailing Norway's breathtaking fjords aboard the magnificent Celebrity Eclipse, June 13th through the 23rd. The soaring mountainous landscapes, the crystal blue waters, the jaw-dropping glaciers, and the charm of old world Europe, all on one magical trip. We'll spend 2 days in Amsterdam, taking in the beauty of one of the most famous cities in the world, and then we'll board our ship, a state-of-the-art vessel with world-class amenities and entertainment. We'll cruise the fjords, which are almost indescribably beautiful. The mountain vistas rise above amazing ports of call like Molde, known as the Town of Roses, and Olden, a 17th century village at the basin of cascading waterfalls. For more information and to make your reservation, call 800-383-3131 or head to cruise-tour.com.
For more information about contests on News Talk 1130 WISN, go to newstalk1130.com/rules.
Dan O'Donnell here alongside Dave Spano, the CEO of Annex. It's This Week with Annex Wealth Management. And this week we're putting a focus on the intersection of politics and economics, as the market is typically a pretty good predictor of the presidential race, Dave.
Yeah, there is for sure. You know, everyone pays attention to the polls and we look at them, but we look at other indicators. And one of those is, what does the S&P 500 do in the 3 months leading up to the election day? And it's been correct about 85% of the time. So if the S&P is higher heading into the election, that's obviously generally pretty good for the incumbent. The second thing we look at, what is the dollar doing? If the dollar is getting weaker, that is good for the incumbent. The VIX, which is the volatility index, is it calm or is it freaking out as we go into the election? And what is the unemployment rate? Is it rising as we go into the election? As of right now, all 4 of those indicators, Dan, are looking towards a Harris win. Don't freak out if you're a conservative right now, because there is generally an October surprise. What that could mean is the market could react, the VIX could go up, the dollar could weaken, and unemployment could go higher. So let's pay attention to all of the data as we get into the election over the next number of days. But as you said, Dan, the intersection of economics and politics is really front and center over the next number of weeks.
And that's why we cover it, not just here on the air, but also on our podcast, The Difference, which you can get on your iHeartRadio app or wherever you listen to podcasts. Dave and I talk about that intersection of politics and economics and how both impact you. You need to know what you own and why you own it. You need a fee-only fiduciary to get you a review of your portfolio. It's called a Wealth Metric, available only at annexwealth.com. For Dave Spano, I'm Dan O'Donnell. This has been This Week with Annex Wealth Management.
This is Michael Lynch from Lynch Truck Center. For the first time ever, Lynch Truck Center is having a massive construction sale on over 400 in-stock trucks, which include Chevrolet, GMC, Kino, and Isuzu. You will not want to miss it. We're adding parking, 7 more truck bays, and expanded parts storage so we can better serve you, our customer. Did you know our experienced sales staff sold more Chevrolet medium-duty trucks and cabovers than all the other dealers in the state combined? With their knowledge on upfits, combined with our service department, we deliver turnkey vehicles for your business, including the right body for your application, bin packages, and even lettered when it's delivered right to your door. As a business owner, has managing your fleet grown into a full-time job? Our fleet department can help. We provide a free fleet analysis which guides you when to trade, help track expenses for maintenance, fuel, and even vehicle tracking. You'll be shocked on the money and time you can save, not to mention having new vehicles under warranty. Visit lynchtruckcenter.com and give us a shot. We won't disappoint you.
Macedonian pianist Simon Trpceski is the soloist in Rachmaninoff's brilliant and showy First Piano Concerto with the Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra, September 27th through the 29th at the Bradley Symphony Center. Music director Ken David Mazur leads these concerts, which will open with Dobrinka Tabakova's homage to Renaissance opera and Greek myth Orpheus's Comet. The second half features Rimsky-Korsakov's evocative Scheherazade, which prominently features concertmaster Jin Woo Lee as musical interpreter of the clever narrator of the 1001 Nights. Join the MSO for Scheherazade, Prophets and Heroines, September 27th through the 29th. Call the box office now for tickets at 414-291-7605 or online at mso.org.
Today's Dan O'Donnell program is brought to you by Great Midwest Bank. Whether you're ready to buy, build, or renovate, Great Midwest Bank takes the stress out of paying for it. Get started today at greatmidwestbank.com.
The free iHeartRadio app has over 100 commercial-free stations for you to explore right now, like the Beatles Now and Then, celebrating all things Beatles.
Together, you say goodbye, and I say hello.
Legendary clips, deep cuts, live performances, and all their solo hits. Just open the free iHeartRadio app and search the Beatles Now and Then and listen now. iHeartRadio, free never sounded so good.
iHeartRadio.
Opinion, emotion, passion. This is News Talk 1130 WISN.
Welcome back. It is the Dan O'Donnell Show. We are going to get to Eric Hovde in just a second. First, can we go to the Southern District of New York? U.S. Attorney Damian Williams outlining the charges against Eric Adams.
Business class tickets for himself and his travel companions to France, Turkey, and China. And he was put up in the Bentley suite in the St. Regis Hotel in Istanbul. All of that was worth more than $41,000, and none of it was publicly disclosed. Also in 2017, he flew to China, again, through Turkey, and accepted 2 free business class tickets for himself and a companion. Those were worth more than $16,000, and none of it was publicly disclosed. In 2018, he flew to Hungary through Turkey and accepted free upgrades for business class seats. Those were worth more than $12,000, and none of it was publicly disclosed. In 2019, he flew to Turkey and accepted a free upgrade to business class for his companion and a free stay in a lavish suite at the St. Regis Hotel in Istanbul. That was worth more than $9,000. And again, none of it was publicly disclosed.
All right, that is Damian Williams, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, outlining that long before he was elected mayor as Brooklyn Borough President, Eric Adams was getting bribes in the form of free travel from the Turkish government, allegedly, of course, but this predates any mention. The idea here, and I know a lot of conservatives think that the DOJ is weaponized, primarily because the DOJ is weaponized, and that this probe only began because Eric Adams started complaining about all the migrant flights and the invasion of New York by illegal immigrants. No, this is a long-standing probe into his ethics. We are going to switch gears a little bit and welcome to the Dan O'Donnell Show, U.S. Senate candidate Eric Hovde, who joins us live on the phone. Sir, it's been too long. How have you been?
It's been way too long, Dan. I'm doing great, and I hope you had a nice remainder to your summer, and it seems like summer continues with this beautiful weather. But, yeah, no, I'm doing great, other than I guess I'm the jerk from California. You can't make this stuff
Well,
up, Dan.
okay, can we please get Tammy Baldwin some obviously paid actors who are better at reading scripts, because every day, sir, I have to hear these people put on the fakest Wisconsin accent I've ever heard. And let me do a quick impression. Now Eric Hovde thinks farmers don't work hard enough. And then you've got the guy coming in. What is with this guy? My goodness. Tammy, you're rolling in campaign contributions. Hire some better actors. We joke about this, sir, but is there any concern, and I have raised this with you earlier in the campaign, that this idea you're an out-of-state California banker and she's our Tammy, is there concern that this is resonating with people?
Obviously you always have concern, but if you look what's happening in the polls, she is going nowhere, in fact, going down a little bit, and I just continue to rise.
This is true.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've had multiple polls. Even that Rasmussen, which was such a bad poll in August, had it way off, like me down by 8 points. I was never down by 8, or maybe they even had me down by 9. But the point is, their latest poll has me down by 4. But I can tell you, all the other polls and internal polls, it's all 1-2 points down. So I'm moving up, and think of the amount of money they've spent telling Wisconsin I'm a jerk. I think farmers are lazy. I mean, how you could even extrapolate my comment talking about the advancement in farming, that they've gone from farming their fields with manual labor to using tractors, which, by the way, is a true statement. Of course it is. To saying farmers are lazy is beyond me. I mean, fortunately, a lot of people that come up to me to say I can't stand her ads. They're all so negative. And I even have Democrats come up and said, I really don't like her ad. What she's trying to do is just wrong. Look, she has nothing to run on, Dan. You and I both know that. So what's she going to say? Increased inflation? I opened the border. I voted to open the border. I voted to give illegal immigrants cash payments. I'm trying, she's the one behind the bill trying to push schools to allow boys to compete in girls' sports and allow boys to go into girls' locker rooms and bathrooms. So what's she going to do? What she's doing is trying to get everybody to hate me and burn me down with all these crazy, silly lies and messages.
Well, here's the thing.
What's going on.
Sir, here's the thing that just absolutely chaps my you-know-what. There was some exclusive reporting a couple of weeks ago by the New York Post that Baldwin's partner, a Wall Street private wealth management advisor named Maria Brisbane, she owns a $1.3 million penthouse condo in Washington, D.C., but has not disclosed that on her financial disclosure reports, despite reporting the assets of her previous partner. Brisbane has never appeared on Senator Baldwin's reports, although Baldwin is clearly living in this penthouse with Brisbane. This to me is unethical in the extreme and unlawful, at least in my view, of what campaign finance reporting requirements are. So she's calling you a walking conflict of interest, I believe was one. She has yet to report the fact that she is he's a wealthy California banker. You're literally living off of a wealthy Wall Street investor. You're sharing in her largesse while refusing to report financial documents suggesting this because she doesn't want that narrative out there that Tammy Baldwin is living high off the hog without reporting any of the assets that she owns.
Dan, it's worse than that. Senator Baldwin not only lives in D.C., but she spends probably half her time up in New York in Maria Brisbane's other place, her $7 million pad. But it's worse than that, is that Maria invests in the pharmaceutical and biotech industries. Senator Baldwin, the committee she serves on, oversees those industries. If they were married, they would have to report that information. Because they're partners but not technically married, they don't have to report that information. So you talk about hypocrisy. Here, Senator Baldwin has ran against Wall Street for her whole career, and yet she's living on Wall Street with a Wall Street executive who's investing in the pharmaceutical and biotech industry that Tammy oversees. So, look, they try to attack me. I've made my money in the private sector. Now they're trying to attack me saying, what's the latest ad? My bank took money from Banco Azteca that dealt with drug cartels, and it flew the money to my bank. Well, first of all, they don't even know what they're talking about in the slightest. We do foreign correspondent business. That money gets sent to the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve processes it. We vet it with the FDIC with an annual review. It's so bizarre. I'm in the most regulated industry. If I was doing that, I would be in jail.
Yeah.
What we process is tourism dollars that people go down to Mexico. They exchange their dollars for cash, for pesos. Those dollars have to come back to help the U.S. dollar remain the world reserve currency. So they're trying to attack me on something that, Bank of America is the biggest player in every bank, overseen by the government, and trying to say I'm taking money from drug cartels, which is just absurd, when she and the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel doesn't even touch the fact of what you just said.
Right. I mean,
She's a politician. She's gotten herself wealthy in the public sector when she's been a senator, and she's living on Wall Street. She runs against Big Pharma, and yet she takes money hand over fist from Big Pharma. She runs against Big Tech, and yet she takes money hand over fist from Big Tech. I mean, she's the biggest hypocrite alive.
What's your plan in the last 39 days of this race with mail-in voting already underway? How do you close strong? Because I think you'll acknowledge that no matter what the polls are saying, you probably do have some ground to make up. That said, Republicans, President Trump in 2 straight election cycles, as well as Republicans in 2016, 18, 20, and 22 have been strong closers in that they'll come from behind in whatever the polls are saying in August and September and really close the gap, if not win outright, but get the race close. You are close to the margin of error, if not within the margin of error in, I think, pretty much every recent poll. How do you close strong?
I'm well within.
My question is, how do you close strong and win this thing? What's your strategy?
You keep hammering the message. Everybody's tuning in now. So you keep hammering the message. Look, I'm out there doing interviews every single day. I'm out there speaking every single day. I am, doing everything possible. Where Senator Baldwin, it not only won't debate me, she doesn't do the press, she doesn't do public speaking much of all, unless it's some very orchestrated event. So people can pick up on that. The polls, I always think they underreport. They've done it for President Trump. They've done it for Ron Johnson. I think the same dynamic is taking place in my race. So just continuing to run hard all the way to the finish line, talking about the issues that people care about. The economy, inflation, the open border, the fentanyl crisis, the crime issues. All these issues are what matter to people, and all the issues line up with myself versus Tammy Baldwin.
He is Eric Hovde, Republican Senate candidate, great friend of the show. Sir, we always do appreciate talking with you. Please don't be a stranger. We'd love to have you on anytime now until Election Day.
Fantastic, Dan. Great being on your show. I hope all your listeners have a fantastic, wonderful day. Hey, by the way, Let's all put Brett Favre in our prayers.
Yeah.
And go Pack, go, kick butt against the Vikings. All right, take care, Dan.
You too, sir. Eric Hovde on the Dan O'Donnell Show. We're back to wrap things up after this.
Big news! We're relaunching our Capital Cares Club, now with no trip fees. As a member, we will never charge you to come to your home. We also give you a whole home electrical safety inspection because Capital does electrical now too. And if you join by September 30th, we will give you 3 months free and install a free whole home surge protector. That's important because all those little power surges sap the life from your appliances and electronics. You need the right breaker, so if you don't have it, we'll let you know. So, in addition to all the other benefits, an electrical safety inspection, no more trip fees, and if you join the Capital Cares Club, I'm recording an ad here, buddy. If you join by September 30th, you get a free whole home surge protector and 3 months free of the Capital Care. We're renaming the club to what?
Join Merle's League of Home Defenders today, online at callcapitalcares.com.
Merle's League?
I'm Kamala Harris. Here's a few things I believe. Middle-class families, like the one I grew up in, they want common sense solutions. You want lower prices and lower taxes. I believe you want to just not get by, but you want to get ahead. We must create an opportunity economy where everyone has a chance to get a car loan, buy a home, start a business. And I believe we can make that happen.
Kamala Harris's plan? Bring down costs by cracking down on corporate price gougers. Make homeownership more affordable for families. A middle-class tax cut for 100 million Americans. And make sure billionaires and big corporations pay their fair share so you can keep more of the money you've earned.
And instead of being focused on the politics of the past, we need to be thinking about the future and how we make it better for families like yours. I'm Kamala Harris, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Harris for President.
Hey, if you're in the market for a rifle, a shotgun, or a revolver, you definitely want to go with the best in the business. And as far as I'm concerned, that's only one place, Henry Repeating Arms. You're going to be amazed by the quality craftsmanship, the buttery smooth action. It makes them a pleasure to shoot. Every one of my Henrys, accurate right out of the box. They've all been reliable ever since. Now, the best way to learn about Henry's 200 models, just go to their website. It's one word, henryusa.com. You'll get a free catalog. They'll send you free decals, a list of dealers where you are, and they have a great newsletter as well. And they showcase their Made in America firearms. Now, Henry's are backed by a lifetime warranty, 100% satisfaction. Made in America, not made at all. That simple. And if you have questions, you can call their award-winning customer service department. Speak with an expert that will help you. Make sure you go to henryusa.com, get your free catalog, free decals, a list of dealers where you are. henryusa.com, a great American company.
Ever feel like you're playing hide and seek with the store employees while shopping for your home renovation?
Hey, can I get some help here?
Skip the hassle and head to Granite Plus for experts who know granite, Cambria, cabinets, and flooring. Granite Plus gives you personalized expertise and affordability with 0% financing available. Visit Granite Plus in New Berlin today and say goodbye to the big store confusion. Granite Plus, better design, service, value. Make your home the perfect gathering spot today.
Bob Tarantino here for EasyHomeBidder.com. A 62 Ferrari sold for $52 million and a 1955 Mercedes sold for $142 million with both buyers and sellers excited to win. Want to win selling your home? Want to win buying your home? Only EasyHomeBidder.com guarantees maximum sales exposure and maximum buying opportunity. Sell or buy real estate. Your big win is waiting at EasyHomeBidder.com. That's EasyHomeBidder.com. Real estate for winners. EasyHomeBidder.com. That's EasyHomeBidder.com.
Sometimes it's hard to figure out what to do about things like retirement planning, selling a business, or building your legacy. So when other advisors present products packed with commissions, you start to wonder, is this advice or a sales pitch? Annex Wealth Management is a fee-only fiduciary. No commission products, just clear thinking when it comes to investment, retirement, tax, and estate planning. Head to AnnexWealth.com, click the Get Started button. It only takes a couple of minutes. Know the difference with a fee-only fiduciary. That's Annex Wealth Management.
Lock in for October. Brewers postseason tickets are on sale now. Clear your schedule, claim your spot, and be here for a Brewers postseason run you don't want to miss at brewers.com/postseason.
Worry-free roofing, siding, and windows. Go to TriCountyContractingWI.com to see completed projects near you, find out about our worry-free roof tune-up, request a free estimate, or get your free online instant roof price. Tri-County Contracting.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
Always appreciate talking to Senate candidate Eric Hovde. Please do check him out, Hovde. For Senate.com is, I believe, his website. Just type it into Google. You'll probably get a whole bunch of Tammy Baldwin ads, but he is a great person. We thoroughly enjoyed earlier in this campaign cycle. We had him on for an entire hour talking about pretty much everything and anything except politics, sports, life, his battle with MS. Just a good man. I can't endorse him highly enough as a human being. As a political candidate, yeah, he's great, sure. But as a human being, he is just a good person. Really do. Always appreciate talking with him. I do believe that the Senate race in Wisconsin is closer than the polls are making it. He is well within the margin of error. My guess is he's going to need a big Trump bump. Tammy Baldwin is shockingly difficult to defeat. In her two previous elections, it's because she's got people fooled. Producer Andrew. She does absolutely nothing. She is the farthest back of the back bench in the United States Senate, and then she goes back to Wisconsin every 6 years and says, well, I'm one of you. All right, thank you all for listening. Back tomorrow, 9:06 a.m. with the Friday edition of the Dan O'Donnell Show.